Okay, I'm recording it. Okay, fine. Thank you. I forgot. So basically, we are going to establish a relation between S and Z such that we are going to prove that the mapping of S plane, basically what we in IR filter we do, we map S plane to Z plane. The mapping of S plane to Z plane in case of our, what it is called, S plane to Z plane mapping in case of our approximate derivative method is a smaller portion. Okay, that's what we are checking it out. Give me a second, I'm just adjusting this recording on. Okay, fine. Okay, fine, thank you. So now how we are going to prove it? So I am taking the example of this particular Z equation where I have established a relation between Z and S. Z and S, Z equal to 1 divided by 1 minus ST. So for sake of certain mathematical advantage, I am just breaking my numerator like this: 0.5 minus 0.5 s into t plus 0.5 plus 0.5 s into t. So basically what I did, I just split 1 into some form of s and t, and I will divide with 1 by st. Now if I take common from this part, I will get, if I take common 0.5, I'll get 1 minus s into t, right? Plus what I'm going to get, if I take 0.5 common from this part, I am going to get 1 plus st. Anyone doubt in this particular line? Please raise your hand. If you have doubt in this particular part, I did not do anything. I just what I did that I just simply split 1 into 2 parts, right? So 0.5 plus 0.5 is 1, 0.5 st and minus 0.5 st will going to get cancelled. That's all what I did. Because of this, I'm going to get some advantage. That's why I did this simple mathematical manipulation. So this is my Z. Okay. Now what I can do, so if I divide 1 by st with numerator, okay, if I divide 1 by st with the numerator, what I'm going to get? Here for this, I'm going to get a 0.5 plus here I'm going to get 0.5 1 plus st divided by 1 minus st. Any doubt in this particular step? Anyone doubt? You can reply in chat window if you have doubt in this particular segmentation what we did, or if you are clear you can put a hand yes or anything. Okay, fine, thank you. At least I was just looking for someone who is okay, fine, clear. Okay, thank you. Now let me do the next part. So if I take 0.5 this side, I will get z minus 0.5, which will be equal to 0.5 whole multiplied with 1 plus st divided by 1 minus st. Right. Now we know that S is equal to sigma plus j omega. This is a clear concept. You have studied in network theory, studied in control system and everywhere. Right. So if I take S equal to sigma plus j omega and replace in this equation, I am going to get z minus 0.5 is going to be equal to 0.5 1 plus sigma plus j omega into t divided by 1 minus sigma plus j capital omega into t. That's what we got, right? Now our aim is, if you remember the mapping of S plane to Z plane, that left half goes inside the unit circle, right half goes outside unit circle, and the j omega axis goes to the perimeter of the circle. This is what we have discussed in the last class. Now suppose I am going to evaluate this particular equation. Let this is equation A. I'm going to evaluate this particular equation on j omega axis. I'm going to evaluate on j omega axis, that is in my y axis, right? If I want to evaluate equation A on j omega axis, what I can do, if you want to evaluate this particular equation on j omega axis, what we can do? Any guess? What we can do if I want to evaluate this to a particular axis, that is on j omega axis? Hmm. Anyone? If I evaluate means if I want to find out how my j omega axis is getting mapped to my what it is called unit circles perimeter. How we can visualize that? So basically we can solve it, right? Right. Basically, if I want to find out what is the values on this particular j omega axis, this is my j omega, this is my j omega, and this is my sigma. I want to find all these values on this axis, how it is going to solve it. Basically, on this axis, my j omega sigma is 0, right? On j omega axis, sigma is 0. Yes or no? On j omega axis, sigma is 0 or not? Yes, fine. So I will simply put sigma equal to 0 in this equation. Okay. Sigma equal to 0 on this particular equation. So what I'm going to get, z minus 0.5 will be equal to 0.5 1 plus j sigma t omega t divided by 1 minus j omega into t. That's what I am going to get. Okay. Now if I take magnitude on the both side, z minus 0.5 magnitude is equal to 0.5 is a constant, so magnitude is going to be 0.5. Then this is what will be the magnitude of this, upper magnitude, lower magnitude? What is the magnitude of a plus ib and a minus ib? Hmm. Right, it is going to be same. Whatever the magnitude of a plus ib is exactly going to be same. So it is 1 plus sigma square t square root over divided by again 1 plus sigma square t squares root over. So these two will going to get cancelled eventually. So I am going to get this equal to z minus 0.5 magnitude is equal to 0.5. So let this is equation number B. So what does this equation signifies geometrically? Can anyone tell? So we know that while studying Z transform, we were very clear that Z is a complex parameter, right? As S, Z is also a complex parameter. Now, what does this particular equation represent geometrically? Hmm. Anybody remember this in complex numbers? What does this equation remember? So if Z is a complex number, Z minus 0.5 equal to 0.5, what does it represent geometrically? Hmm. Yes, someone given a right answer. Anybody else? What does it represent geometrically? Basically, it is going to be a circle, right? Basically, it is nothing but a circle, correct? So this represent a circle of radius equal to how much? This represents circle of radius of, okay, good. This represent, sorry, this is going to represent a circle of radius equal to 0.5, and what about its center or origin? What is the center of this circle? What is the coordinate of the center of this circle? Hmm. What is the central coordinate? Good. Nice. This is going to be 0.5 comma 0. That means the x it is 0 and this is at y it is, oh, sorry, x it is 0.5 and y it is 0. Good. Very good. Nice. So that means this particular equation number B represents what? Let me pull another. This particular equation represent a circle with radius here, with a radius here 0.50, with a center at, with a radius of, this radius value is, what is the radius value? This r equal to 0.5 and this particular guy, the origin is at 0.5 comma 0, correct? This is what it is going to represent for me, right? So this is my, so who is annotating on the board? इसको इतना खुजली चढ़ा हुआ है रे. Okay, now this is what this particular equation number B represents geometrically. So this is my real z axis, this is my imaginary z axis, so I am telling this is my z plane. So what does you understand? Now we have something which is tangible. The tangible is that, or the universal truth is that I have a unit circle which is basically like this. This is my unit circle, right? This is my, sorry, this is my unit circle, r equal to 1, correct? This is my unit circle. So this gray area is my unit circle. I'm just putting a gray area, and this bluish hue with a tinted structure is my mapped area. Okay. Now, in ideal conditions, in ideal condition, when I do S-plane to Z-plane mapping by Z omega and sigma axis, my mapping is usually happen like this. So suppose this is my left side of S-plane. In ideally, this total left side should map inside the unit circle, right? Okay, total left side has to map inside unit circle. Like this, it has to go inside this, all the values. But in this method, what is happening, this left, all the whole of the left side is mapping to this smaller circle. Okay, mapping to this particular smaller circle. That's why let this green arrow is coming. So this smaller circle, it is mapping to this particular smaller circle. This is mapping to this particular smaller circle. Okay. Now, if that is the case, that means a larger frequency domain, that is larger frequency values in analog IIR filter is getting mapped to a smaller in digital IIR, though it is stable because all the poles we are mapping inside unit circle, though it is stable, but the mapping goes to a very smaller area of digital frequencies, right? That's why this method is never suitable to design low pass or band stop filter. So this is not, sorry, my bad, not suitable to design high pass filter or band pass band reject filter, not suitable. It is only suitable to design low pass filter and certain cases of band pass filter. Again, this is question mark. Most of the cases people don't design band pass filter using this method or convert. So mostly this is suitable to design low pass filter. That's all. Okay, that's all for this approximate derivative part. Okay, I will share you the questions and everything. Next we shall move to the, so this the last statement is that because of larger omega value, we know that this omega, capital omega, that is, sorry, capital omega, that is my range of frequencies in analog domain is minus infinite to plus infinite, correct? And digital frequency, that is smaller omega, the range is minus pi to plus pi. This minus pi to plus pi represent pole wise this unit circle. Okay, and this represent this left half of the S plane, that is for the stability case. But what happened while we are doing this particular method of approximate derivative, right? What we are able to get, what we are finding out, that the whole left half is compressed and mapped to a very smaller part. Okay, compressed and mapped to a very smaller part. Because of that, the compression of this frequency bands to a smaller portion in Z plane, right? That means while converting analog IIR to digital IIR, this method is not suitable for designing high pass and band pass filters. This is only suitable to convert a low pass IIR to a low pass analog IIR to a low pass digital IIR to maintain the stability. Basically, to maintain the stability, we should not use this particular method to design high pass or band reject or band stop filters. Okay, that is about our approximate derivative part. Next we shall move to another method, that is, let me create another whiteboard. So this is impulse invariance. Okay, this is impulse. Okay, this is next part is we are going to talk about the second conversion method or second method of designing IIR filter is impulse in impulse invariance technique known as IIT, impulse invariance technique. And this is one of the most easiest technique of converting analog IIR to digital IIR. सो बेसिकली हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं एनालॉग आईआर डिजिटल आईआर में, बेसिकली एस प्लेन को जेड पे मैप कर रहे हैं. वी आर फाइंडिंग ए सुइटेबल रिप्लेसमेंट ऑफ एस, राइट. सो हम लोग को क्या गिवन रहता है, बेसिकली यूजुअली गिवन रहता है एच ए ऑफ एस, दैट इज एनालॉग आईआर का रिस्पॉन्स जो रहता है वो गिवन रहता है. एनालॉग आईआर का रिस्पॉन्स गिवन रहता है और हमको निकालना रहता है क्या, एच ऑफ जेड, that is the response of digital IIR, right, from HA of S using some kind of conversion technique. Okay. Okay. Now, how to do this thing, right? So some of the consideration for this digital analog IIR using impulse invariance like that. So suppose I have one HA of S which is in this form. Can anybody tell whether these filters, this analog filter will be stable or unstable? Can anyone tell this analog filter is going to be stable or a non-stable analog filter? Why unstable? What is the pole over here? What is the pole here in this equation? So suppose my n is equal to 4. Okay. Yeah, minus pk. So minus pk, if I am telling, don't just write that someone is unstable. So let's think whether this impulse response is stable or not. So what is the condition for analog system to be unstable? What is the condition analog filter to be unstable? All poles should be left half or right half? Okay, pole on left. Wow. I am asking what is the condition for unstability? Right. Okay. Okay. Fine. So right means here S is equal to minus. So suppose let me delete this one. Suppose S in this particular case S is equal to minus pk, right? So what will be the location of this pole, whether it is left side or right side? Yeah, it's left, right? This location of this pole is going to be left, right? Please very careful. This is a minus sign. It is left. If the pole is present in the left, how could it be unstable? How it is going to be unstable? So basically, it is a multi-pole. So what is the order of this system? Can anybody tell what is the order of this system? तुम लोग ये कंट्रोल सिस्टम में पढ़ रहे हो इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ. What is the order of this system? Yeah, it's a no zero नहीं है. It's a first order system, right? Zero. Yeah, it's a first order system. Good. This is a first order simple. It's a simple. The power is one. The pole power is one only. Okay. So it's a multi-pole first order system. Thank you. So this is basically a multi-pole first order system. This is a multi-pole first order system for us. Now, impulse invariance technique is sometimes known as matched Z transform technique. This is simply matching of Z and S. No pole at 0. I don't know what is the value of pk. Maybe there is some pk will be equal to 0. Understand? This is a generic statement. Okay. Now again another condition, there is no repeated pole. किस annotation कौन कर रहा है? बंद करो ना annotation. So these are the two conditions. No repeated pole. So if pk is 0, it is not unstable, na? It is critically stable or marginally stable. The condition, the Routh-Hurwitz criteria was very clear, na? If you remember in network theory, the Routh-Hurwitz criteria was quite clear. Okay, so these are the two conditions we are looking. This is the first. किसको ये करना है एनोटेशन में? क्लास बंद करता हूं, तुम लोग अपना अपना पढ़ लेना, ठीक है? If it is not 0, I am not telling if it is not 0, it may be 0, na? I am not telling it is not 0. I am telling it has no repeated poles. This pk can be 0, na? This pk can be 0. Pk can be -1. Pk can be -2. Pk can be -0.5. What's problem in that? If it is 0, s equal to 0 means it lies on this j omega axis, right? S equal to 0 means this is going to lie on this axis, correct? Right or wrong? Right or wrong? It is going to lie on this axis, and when this is on this axis, this is critically stable. This is not unstable, right? Critically or marginally stable. That's what we are looking at. We are just eliminating all criteria of instability, not which is stable. Okay. Okay. Now, so what will be the inverse of this one? What will be the inverse of this one? HA of t. So what is, let me delete this part. So what is the inverse? It's something like equation is there, HF, sorry, some x of s which is equal to 1 by s plus 1. What is the inverse of this one? X of t is equal to what? क्या होता है? It's quite easy if you remember. इसका इनवर्स क्या होता है? एक्सपोनेंशियल ऑफ yeah st. No, it is not st, it is e to the power t only. E to the power minus t, that's all. This is simply e to the power minus t u of t, right? If you remember your signal system, correct? Because pole is 1, -1 here, pk is equal to -1, correct? So what then, if that is the case, what will be the inverse of this guy, h of s? So it is quite simple. This is summation is not going to do any problem. Summation 1 to n. Ak is a constant, it can be there, ak. So s equal to pi, sorry, s equal to e to the power minus pk into t, because my pk value s equal to minus pk, and u of t. That's all. That is my inverse value of this particular case. Sorry. That is my inverse. Okay. Now if this is the case, now next step is always discretization of this sequence. So this is let equation number 1. Second part, how I'm going to discretize this thing. So if I sample t equal to n and capital T interval, like we did in the last approximate derivative method, t equal to nt interval, right? T at nt interval, I am going to get HA of, sorry, I am naming it as h of n, which is equal to HA of nt, right? This equal to summation k equal to 1 summation k equal to capital N a k into e to the power minus pk, small t के जगह हम लोग रिप्लेस कर रहे हैं n into capital T, then u of n into capital T, right? Then a little more simplification, summation k equal to 1 to capital N a k e to the power minus pk into T whole to the power n u of n, u of n. Okay, so ak equal to e to the power minus pkt whole to the power u of n, that is my h of n, right? That's my h of n. Okay, now if I apply z transform on upon it, what I am going to get? If I apply z transform upon it, if I apply z transform upon it, I will going to get h of z, which is equal to, I will get two summation, I'm going to get two summation, that is summation k equal to 1 to capital N, summation k equal to 1 to capital N a k, right? If you remember last class, u of nt is usually anything x of nt in digital domain, it is represented as x of n. This is both the same thing. If you write x of n, it means that is x of nt. Okay, that's what we do. This is simple notation. You have to be clear that this is a notational change, nothing else. If you write u of nt and you write u of n, it is going to mean the same thing. Okay, so summation ak. So if you apply z transform, what I'm going to get? So this is basically a to the power n u of n. Ak is a constant. So this is summation n equal to minus infinite to plus infinite. Then I will start. This is only 1.45 minute left. Madhav, I will start again from this point in the next class. Okay. Okay. Now, so let me just put, this is summation n equal to minus infinite to infinite. This is in form of a to the power n u of n, where your a is nothing but e to the power minus pkt. Okay. Now if into z to the power minus n. Okay, we know that if I apply n, summation k equal to 1 to capital N a k, summation n equal to 0 to infinite, because u of n is there, a to the power n z to the power minus n. So what is the z transform of a to the power n z to the power minus n? That is 1 by 1 minus a z inverse. So my h of z will be going to be equal to summation k equal to 1 to n a k whole multiplied with 1 divided by 1 minus a z inverse. Now if I put the value of a over here, I am going to get my h of z, which is equal to summation k equal to 1 to n a k multiplied with 1 minus e to the power minus pk into t z inverse. That's all. So we'll start in the next class from this point onward. Okay, okay, fine. Thank you. I will share the recording and this whiteboard right now. Thank you. Just closing it.